Welcome to the good, the bad, and the sequel with your hosts, Doug and Jamie.
We are back, and this is the movie podcast where we're talking sequels, and we do it in two parts. The first, an interview with an actor or someone involved that made the film worth watching, and the second, a discussion of the sequel, what they got right, what they got wrong, and how it could have been better. I really hope you enjoyed last week's interview with Tangerine. Amazing stories about coming up in Hollywood and growing up right in the thick of the business. And man, her story about working with JB Smoove and Larry David on Curb was so awesome, and she's hilarious. So you got to make sure you follow her because she has some awesome content that she puts out. Now, I cannot wait to talk about the movie that she was in, which is I Got The Hookup 2. The first one came out like 21 years ago. But before we get into it, I got to introduce you to my partner in the sequel watching journey, Jamie Riccardi. Jamie, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, Doug. This is my first time watching this movie. I've never saw the first one. I never even heard of either one of these movies.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know what's funny? It's cool. 2 weeks in a row, two movies in a row. They're like 20-year later sequels.
Yeah, but I was not a fan of this one. I have to be honest.
So we'll have to get into it. There is, again, I'm not going to sit here and say it's like The Godfather Part 2, but there are some parts when me and my wife watched it that we laughed.
You know, I struggled with this movie. I have to be honest. It was longer than I wanted it to be. You know, I feel like it was like Fridays, you know, what do they call the redheaded stepchild or whatever? Like that. It was like the poor man's Friday is what it was. And I mean, to the fact that they had the same actors from Friday in here, they had the same characters basically from Friday in this movie. And I didn't even know what the plot was until like 45 minutes into the movie.
Okay. So that's we're going to have an agreement on a lot of parts. There are some funny bits. But something that we're mind blowing about this movie, we'll get into all of it. But first off, you're right. Plot, no idea. The way the movie ends makes zero sense. There's no scientific proof that is a real thing, and we'll dive into that. And also, so most movies that we cover, when you look at the IMDb, there's like maybe like 50 or 60 characters. And then there's extras that are on the bottom, like customer, boy in shop. There's 477, which is, again, Master P is trying to like make a lot of these movies to build a legacy for his family. And there's scenes in this movie where two guys turn to each other, go back and forth, and we never see them again.
I felt like this was watching a long episode of In Living Color.
Oh, it was a bunch of sketches.
It was sketches, and that's what it was. There were so many characters. I didn't know who was who. The plot. I mean, I think that just, you know, it moved so fast from one sketch to another. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And you know, one of my biggest problems, and I knew from the beginning of the movie, you know, and we'll get into the characters. I think his name was Spyda, right?
Oh, I love that.
Okay, so I had to put on subtitles because he played the Chris Tucker of Friday in this movie.
Yeah.
But he spoke 10 times faster than Tucker. I couldn't understand a word he was saying. And I speak fast. And he blew my mind.
So let's start from the beginning of the movie.
Right.
So obviously this movie has curses in it. But why? Did you notice in the beginning of the movie, Master P's song, the opening track of the movie, the curse words are bleeped out. And that must be a mistake because I watched the movie and there was the F word. There was so many curse words, but for some reason, the opening track had bleeps in it.
You know,
it's so weird.
I don't even think I noticed it.
It was right. Like, honestly, when the title card came up, the production companies, like the first line was like something. I'm like, F word should be here. And it's like bleep. And I'm like, wait, what's happening? And Spyda is his name. His real name's, I think, DC Superfly or DC. I forget what his last name was, but man, you got to put on subtitles. But dude, if they got rid of a lot of the other characters, those little bits that were in the movie, and more of him, he was funny. Like the opening scene of the movie was really funny when him and his buddy, they're standing there, they're doing a little bit of the drug deal. And his buddy, which I don't know what was wrong with that guy, but he wanted to have sex with a pit bull.
Yeah, before you go, like he says, I would. What did he say? I would rough. What did he say? He made a point that he would have his way with that dog at night.
Yeah,
out of the blue, like it made no sense. Like right there, I'm thinking, like, all right, what am I getting myself into? Like,
the funny part of the joke was his buddy said something dumb like that, and he was like, you know what I'm saying? And Spyda's like, I'm not gonna dab you on that. And then he yells up to his mom, and he's like, yo, Mom, can I borrow $100?
I felt like there was not like I didn't know what was going on.
It's like we should have seen something before then.
Something.
That's like the middle of a movie. Like it was funny, like when the guys came up to drop off the drugs, and he's like, "Man, what'd you know them like 3 days?" He's like, "No, man, I met him yesterday." And the fact that he's like smoking a blunt and he starts taking the pills and he's like dancing, and then the time they showed a clock to show progression, which is good, so you know. And the fact that he has a massive heart on because the guy sold him Viagra.
What? And that obviously was a running. And then that whole thing was a whole running joke. The whole movie also. You know, for a movie, I would think like this. You know, it's almost like Amazon Women in the Moon. Like that, it would have been a better movie. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it wasn't trying to be a movie than to be the sketches that it was. Because right after that, you have the guy the homeless guy or something walking around. Like that didn't make sense either. And I think part of the problem also with me is it really is like a ripoff of Friday. I mean, the whole movie.
Vein of it. Yeah, the characters in it.
The characters, instead of having Debo on a bike, you have another muscle-bound guy in a scooter. You know, you have
He was friends with Debo. It was like his brother, correct. I think, in the movie.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Like then you have the Spanish drug dealers in the car. They had it on Friday. You had I think they had so many similarities. You know, even the big guy. What did they call him? What was his nickname in the movie?
That boy.
You know, he's hefty, just like Ice Cube. You know, it was a little hefty. You got there was so many similarities that it was just like, it's like, I think he was trying to play too much with Friday. And I think that's part of why I didn't like the movie.
Yeah. No, sometimes like they try too much when it comes to that. But you're right. The way it would cut from scene to scene, it was kind of like you were watching sort of like a spoof movie because they cut so quick. Again, some for me worked so well and some were weird. But like you said, the homeless guy, that kind of reminded me, but like the first thing I wrote down, Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber with the sombrero. Because he like randomly walks up. He's like mumbling. You can't understand him. Because he comes back later in the movie. Can't understand him. But you know what was really funny? The cops in this movie.
Oh.
Those two cops come.
Well,
first of all, how are they cops?
Well, I was going to say, they don't even know. Yeah, I was going to say, they don't even know the laws. So how they, but they probably went to the same school as police academy. So, they honestly, they look like they could have been from police academy. So, well, look, before the guy, the homeless guy, back to him, he's selling sneakers.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
And he's wearing these massive gold chains. Like, this is almost like I'm going to get you, sucker kind of thing. Like like they were spoofing themselves almost. Like I don't know. And they were hanging out at some woman's house. Who was that lady?
The house that was Spyda's mom.
She was white.
Oh no, that was his wife. That was his mom's friend. Because remember, she offered to help him with his problem.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay. You see that was kind of funny. All right, that was kind of funny.
And then, so what the thing that's wild? This is like the wildest part of the movie, and I really like respect Master P because it's his movie, but he's not the focal point of the movie. Honestly, Blue Anthony Johnson, really barely in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's funny. The times you see him, his like running bit in this movie is funny. But Master P, barely see him. It's more about, like you said, Spyda and Fat Boy. It's like kind of their. but it changes the whole movie. Like you see
it does, because I mean, again, listen, Blue's in a lot of scenes. You know, obviously Master P's not playing the funny role. He's like the Abbott to Costello. You know, where Blue's the Costello, and like I didn't know much about Master P. You know, I didn't see the first movie. You know, he seems like the Dr. Dre of this movie, where he's just trying to get people started. You know, like career-wise. I mean, I don't know if anyone really did anything from this movie. Like anyone, like
well, it's only been a year, but I can see Spyda. I would love to see him in a movie because he was funny in the right role.
Yeah, but when you have Chris Tucker out there, who's going to hire Spyda?
Well, Chris Tucker's old now.
He can still play he's making Rush Hour 5 or whatever it is.
Well, how far are you in the Epstein documentary? Because there's some revealing things about Chris Tucker in there.
Well, we watched 2 episodes, and it's rough. But that's another podcast thing.
Yeah, get to episode 4, and then you'll second that. So the script for this movie is really clever. Obviously, like where we live in, like, you know, little like towns, it's not the same. But we lived in Portland, like gentrification was like really happening. And I know it happens in like major cities, but like seeing it firsthand is like kind of wild because we moved there was like these funky old buildings and we're like, this is cool, man. These food carts in this parking lot are cool. And then like 2 months in, we were living there, knock them down to build town ashes. So that storyline was really funny. But the thing was, it friggin' disappeared because then it wasn't about that. I thought it was going to be about them getting shut down, which they do with the health inspector. And then I thought the whole movie was going to be about, hey, we have to make sure we get the restaurant right to open it back up. They kind of forgot about that whole thing with the health inspector.
You know, and that could have been a good storyline. However, like Blue wanted to take the money, right? Wasn't it like $3 million, $5 million, something like that? Or okay, so you know, and Master P doesn't want to sell it because he's like, this is for the people. Like the people love coming here. He can make 5 more of those places with that money, you know, like, and then, yeah, you're right. It totally went nowhere. I mean, because they're not involved in the movie. It's really the fat guy and Spyda. Like they're the main.
But you know what is funny? That maybe Master P, because he knows how bad Blue with his, remember how bad he is with the money? He's like, with that $5 million, you know, he could pay off his, you know, baby mama. He could pay off his house, get a new car. And then we probably have like 500,000 left. And then when the guys, the developers, which again, I love in movies, the way white people are played. And in this movie, it's just so funny. The stereotypes of white people is so great.
Well, the stereotypes in everybody in this movie is like, you know, they really like, play on everybody. So it's fun, you know.
No, I love the developer guy. And then he's like, well, you know, you guys owe a lot of taxes. Blue starts running. And he's like, oh, yeah, I saw some girls over here. I want to make sure. And so basically these guys pay tax. Again, never brought up the tax storyline or the food. So they kind of forgot about that. So like maybe when they were filming, I'm sure they had to like guerrilla, like shoot this movie and like a really shoestring budget. I'm sure maybe they were like, this is better today. And we're going to go with that storyline. Because those are two, like you said, 2 good storylines, not the one that we'll get to that.
Yeah, but you know what though? I bet you though, because there's so many actors in this movie that there's probably so much more filmed and they had to cut it down. So there might have been a bigger storyline with that, but because they had to get to every scene, I think they just I think it's more about the cutting of the movie to squeeze in all these like sketches than to have one big storyline. And I think that's
true.
It had to be one of the longest IMDb lists I've ever seen.
It's definitely by far. It's mind blowing. So then we come up to a scene with there were very attractive women in this movie, like
very,
but shocking. And again, now like when we do this for the love of sequels, but sometimes you like expect there was no nudity.
Well, it wasn't filmed in the 80s.
It was not filmed in the 80s. But I was like actually shocked. I thought it was gonna be like one little quick scene. They even like we're in a strip club for a scene, and I was like, "Oh, here it is." I'm like, "No way!" But
yeah, you would think a movie like this would totally have something, because it really had cursing. There was no reason why not to have it. I mean, based on the rating, you had cursing, you had action, you had sexual innuendos. There could have been boobs.
Yeah, just one.
Well, it'd be weird seeing one. I mean, I like to see 2 boobs if you can.
That'd be kind of weird. Just like the whole movie is like one boob. No, but so you get that sexy girl in that red wig, which again, you don't see her again for the whole movie. She's out of the movie, and she's walking a baby stroller and just shaking her booty. And
I didn't expect anything close to what her role I was expecting again just catcalling what was going on. I did not expect it to lead where it was, and that's probably the one of the characters I laughed at the most.
Oh, dude, wait.
Okay.
So they get to a dock, which we don't know what's in there. Again, we can guess because I know you didn't see the first one, but I got the first one. They have the illegal that's how old the movie. I think the first one they had StarTech cell phones. They look like those flip phones. And that's
wait. So the first movie was about cell phones, and this movie is about cell phones?
Yeah, that's why it's called I Got the Hookup.
Really? Because of the cell phones?
Yeah.
I just thought it was just slang, the street term.
Well, the first one's about cell phones. I guess the second one they had. And again, until this part, I didn't watch any of I watched the trailers, but I don't remember anything about the cell phone. So I'm like, are they going to do the cell phone thing? They do the cell phone thing. But
you're blowing my mind right now because I didn't put two and two together, hookup and phone together. So I just thought it was, like I said, I thought it was street term. Hey, I got the hookup.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's
drugs. I got whatever. I didn't think it was. Oh man. All right.
So she pulls up to a random loading dock. These two guys come out looking at her, which why not? And then when this kid pops out, they're like, man, you got a big baby. That baby has size 12 shoes. And when that baby, which I could talk about this baby all night long, pops out with a shotgun, that was unbelievable.
I have to be honest. When the baby came out, I wasn't sure if I was looking at a midget or a little kid. Because it is a kid, I'm assuming, right? It is a kid. He's probably 12, right? Or something. But he does such a great job. I thought it was a little man. I thought it was a midget. And I did not expect that. And he...
Well, I think a majority of this, we're going to talk about some of the scenes that he's involved in, because I don't know what to make of it.
Well, can you? I think I was trying to find him. I couldn't find him on the IMDb. I don't know if he was in anything else, but can you imagine he's going the producer's going to his mom, say, hey, listen, got a great role for your son. He's going to be dealing with prostitutes and guns and drugs. He's only 10. I mean,
and he's going to be possibly having sex with a girl in the car, which we'll get to that. Oh. Well, they don't show it, but then we see what seems like the end of it.
He also has two girls at his arm all the time.
And Fat Boy, which I think we'll just skip over when we get to it. But when Fat Boy has him over in the backyard at Blue's house, which Fat Boy's Blue's son, and they're hanging in the backyard, he's like, man, Dad, I just want to get a selfie with him because then I'll be Insta famous because he has 5 million followers. And he's like, and the best part is the kid, can't understand him.
Yeah.
He doesn't look Spanish, but he has such a thick accent. And for most of the movie, the only thing I hear is cell phone. He tells the one girl, I got cell phone. But other than that, he's really just holding shotguns on people and running away.
I think he makes the movie. If I could find any enjoyment in this movie, it's this kid. And I think he does a great job. Like I said, I a few times had a question. Am I looking at a little person or am I looking at a kid? I couldn't tell the difference. He does a great job.
Well, there's another great character in this movie. And you forgot to mention him from Friday.
I was going to get there. It was Dr. Chow or Chu or what's...
No. That's John Witherspoon. That's down the road.
From also Friday.
Yeah. So I was talking about next Friday, my favorite character when we reviewed it, Pinky. Oh. Pinky plays his parole officer. Dude, how about when he said...
Well, you're making me hate this movie even more now.
Why? Oh, because another character?
You got 5 people from Friday in here.
Well, I do love his character in this movie because it's really funny. So Master P gets pulled over, and at the same time, his parole officer calls him. And he says, call me he calls him by his real name. I forgot what it is. But he goes, hey, how many times am I going to tell you you're going to call me Jackpot? And they said, you better make sure you pee. And dude, how about when the cops get Master P out of the car and he tells him to calm down Chester Cheeto?
I wrote that down. Well, I mean, you see, look at who he's wearing. I mean, the outfits in this movie are a little, ridiculous. But yes, Chester Cheeto was great. And then everybody had their cell phones out right away.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was a big thing in this movie too. It's just like that's the culture.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
For everyone, people like record everything rather than helping.
But they did it in a funny way, like they did. Yeah.
So how about the other cop? Did you realize who that was? The female cop?
No.
And I remember when we were reaching out to people for this movie, I was like, oh, I want to reach out for her. And I thought she had a bigger role. She doesn't even talk. It's Farrah Abraham from Teen Mom, the first Teen Mom on MTV.
Really?
Yeah, she was the first Teen Mom, and then she got it.
So Master P's trying to get her career going?
I have no idea, but her lines probably got cut because she has no lines. But
wait, we're not talking about the one that liked Romeo.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, we're about a cop. Oh, no, not that cop.
Okay.
No, the cop that pulls over Master P in that first scene, that pulls over Black, and then she doesn't even say anything. But yeah, that's her.
Well, I never watched Teen Mom, so.
I didn't either. I just knew. I knew.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you just know that she's the first Teen Mom, but you never watched it. Come on.
Yeah,
okay.
But it's funny. That's why she probably didn't email me back because I had her email, and I was like, oh, hey, I loved you and so. She's like,
was she anything else? No.
Team up. I'm a huge fan, man. And how about when Master P was running away? Did you realize his stuntman was like half the size of him? Because he was doing all these jumps and diving over cars, and it was the same outfit, but it was so much skinnier, so much quicker.
What do you know the budget for this movie or no?
No, I don't know what the budget is.
I don't either, but I'd be curious.
It looks good. It doesn't look bad.
No, it's not a matter of looking good. I just like just the production value. I don't know.
But I'm saying visually, like watching the film, if they use
it doesn't look like a B movie. It doesn't look like a B movie. It does look good. Just I'd be curious.
So how about when the cops showed up to the loading dock? The one cop when she's screaming,
and he's not talking.
Huh?
And he's not talking. The one that's not giving.
Oh no, not that. I'm talking about the one cop, the girl cop screaming. She's like, "I'm here for a Mexican baby with a gun," and she keeps saying it over and over again. And then each time she's like throwing in curse words because it's like kind of mind blowing. Like that's what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about it. Amazing. That guy's in it.
No, but weren't they questioning him and he's not giving any answers? And then his friend over there is like spilling everything.
Yeah. So the one cop that's the Nigerian cop in the movie, he's a comedian, Michael Blackson. He's really funny in this movie when he's trying to get the information from the guy and he's like yelling at him. And then later on, when he gets in the fight with a woman in line that's a man, oh my God, dude. That was so, oh my God, dude. And then his line, he says to the guy, he says, USS is going to stand for you stupid son of a bitch. Because the loading company was like a knockoff. It was like USS instead of like.
Oh, shocker. Another knockoff.
So then we see Blue, and he's having a dream. And his dream is at the strip club where I thought like, oh, this is going to be a spot that, just one boob pops out. And he's with three girls, and then he wakes up. And it's funny, the running, and then he looks down.
Yeah.
And he can't get hard. And then we
like in seconds though. It was like quick. But so that becomes a running gag.
Yeah, throughout the whole movie, like that is like an issue that he has, which does that really like it doesn't have anything to do with the story. It's just I guess.
Well, up to this point, there is no story. Seriously, like at this point, what's the story at this point?
Well, at this point, we think the story should be about their store and somebody taking it over. So you're thinking it's going to be one of those movies like, hey, the health inspector shut us down. So what we have to do now is clean up and get together. So it'd be like an episode like Kitchen Nightmares or Bar Rescue. John Tapper comes in.
I honestly, I don't even think I thought about that. I'm thinking it was just like, you know what, we're going to start seeing a bunch of shenanigans between Blue, you know, and Black, and that's the movie. Like I'm still at this point, I don't see a storyline. Even with them selling their place, I still didn't see. I'm still not sure where they're going.
Yeah. So the little kid's name is Big Shawn.
Yes.
He doesn't look like a Big Sean because you know why? Because he doesn't speak English.
Wait, he doesn't look like a Big Sean?
No, I mean like that's a nickname for him, Big Sean. But it's like if my name was like Francois and I talk like this, it's kind of weird.
Why? So if you're Francois, you only speak with a French accent?
I should.
Why?
Because my name's Francois. My parents must be like crazy or on drugs if they've named me like Francois. My name's, I'm Doug from Jersey.
So should Whoopi Goldberg speak with a Hebrew accent?
Is Whoopi? Oh. It's funny. I went right for the first name, not the last name. I'm like, Whoopi? What the hell? What nationality is
Whoopi? You can't. I mean, listen, Goldberg's a Jewish last name.
Yes.
So it's the same difference. She doesn't have a Jewish accent, does she?
Maybe. Did you ever see the dinosaur movie when she's a cop? The dinosaur? No, so Big Sean, that was the scene we kind of talked about before, but I remember how shocked me and my wife were watching. We looked at each other, we're like, how old is this kid? He's smacking these amazingly hot girls' asses. He's just like smacking, and I'm like, this is real.
Would you allow your son or daughter to be in a movie like this at that age?
Maybe my son.
Why? Your daughter can't?
No, I would not.
I would think that, because again, if at that age, you're kind of still pure, to introduce them to a movie like this that basically has everything in it, you're opening the kid's mind to so much. I mean, it can only go down from there. I mean, there's no recovery.
Yeah. And like this kid, you're 10 years old smacking girls' asses. You're not going to smack girls' asses every day for the rest of your life.
Now, do you think this kid became a stud in like third grade now? Because he's like, listen, I was in this movie. I smacked some asses. I carried some shotguns. I mean,
that would be great. He's on the playground playing kickball, or some teacher's like, Big Sean, did you turn your homework? He's like, man, I was smacking girls' asses next to Master P left.
He walks in a classroom with a girl on each arm.
So then we see Tangerine. We find out that's Blue's baby mama. That's Fat Boy's mom, which they have some scenes. She's in another scene later in the movie, but there was a deleted scene afterwards that was kind of funny, like a flashback kind of scene of her having a baby, which was there was a lot of deleted scenes.
They're not brothers, are they?
Who?
Blue and Black?
No, they're not.
Okay, so they just call him Uncle because they were calling Black Uncle.
You know what? So, I don't think they are, but it could be because
so maybe they're close friends, so they just call him Uncle kind of thing. I didn't know if they were related. All right, they could be brothers though.
Oh, they could be. I don't remember if they talked about that in the first one because they definitely didn't do it in this one. But yeah, there was a lot of random relationships, but I think we're going to get into it pretty soon about the cop, like the main cop in this movie, and again, it was kind of. So the next person we meet the bad guy, Pablo, which I could take or leave him. He might be a good actor, but in this movie, it just was like, why do we have to have that?
I think the whole bad guy group was horrible. Even the rapper. Oh
my dude, he was so friggin' annoying.
First of all, was he Asian?
Yes, he was.
Okay. But but they're supposed to be Spanish, right? So he's playing this.
Yeah, so it was confusing, which again, they could be related, I guess, but it just was really confusing because I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then we're seeing a music video being shot. Yeah.
But now, is he like a real rapper that maybe Master P? I feel like he's just he's trying to invest into people buying these people.
Yeah.
Getting their career started.
Yeah, which again, I think that's what Masterpiece tries to do. He tries to find these people and maybe jumpstart it. But yeah, I can take your lead, Pablo.
Has he been a part of any other movie besides the first one?
Master P? I'm sure he produces a lot because he has a studio, so he definitely produces a lot. I don't know what movies, right. But okay. So we're talking about the stereotypes of things. And I love when Master P and Bach and Blue go to the cafe and they're ordering the drinks and he orders like a latte. And then Blue goes, I'll have a double shot of Hennessy with 2 white women. And I love the girl's like, I'm sorry, but we don't have that.
Yeah, the girl behind the counter was like a typical girl that you would see and like this, yeah. Because then they started treading on like that, the play on words.
Yeah. So and then again, because I didn't, who knows where this movie is going to go. So Master P's son was kind of a big deal. Like when I was younger, little Romeo. So obviously he's not little anymore, he's Romeo. And in this scene, he FaceTimes with his son. I'm like, dude, that's Romeo. I'm like, holy crap. So then I'm like, oh, they did this little shoehorn conversation. I'm like, that's pretty cool. He did that. Because I even said that. I'm like, that's cool. He puts his kid in the movie. But then he's like a big part of the movie.
He looked a little like he reminded me like a little like a young Will Smith in this movie. Like he kind of like, resembled him. I thought he was pretty good. Like actor wise,
he was really good. But I just hated his invention.
I know.
It just was not realistic. And I understand it's a movie. It doesn't have to be realistic, but it's. So how about this one? This one made no sense. But how about when they go to the psychic?
Oh, okay. I think this is to the point where I'm starting to be like, you know what? I'm really starting to hate this movie. Because the psychic beehive.
Yeah, the girls are dressed like bees.
And it was the fake Beyonce. I don't know.
The one actress is a comedian. She's when I was growing up, like I watched BET. She was at BET, like she would be on Comic View. Like I remember her, but
but in the role, like I didn't think they were funny. Like I mean, she could be funny outside of the movie, but they weren't. I don't like. The only thing I thought was funny, and I don't remember who said it, was they were talking about Blue Stinky Breath.
Oh, dude, she was ripping him so bad. Yeah, that was funny. And then the other one's trying to with Black. And here's what's crazy. So Black throughout this whole movie, there's a couple girls that are all over him. And then he's in a relationship, a random girl. He's like, baby, I like you. We've been together for like 3 months now. I'm like, wait, what the fuck is happening? This is like, he didn't mention that at all. Like that girl was like all over him. It's not like he went outside and went to Blue and was like, hey man, I really like Tanya. Which I don't even know if that was her. I don't even know if his girlfriend had a name in the movie. But he was just like, oh, I'm not into you. But there was another girl too. There was a couple other girls that were like kind of into him. And he was like, I don't know.
Yeah, he was definitely like the girls wanted everything to do with him and no one wanted Blue. He was like the annoying little like friend that, got nobody.
But the bees, they were real psychic because they predicted the future. They knew that he was going to get shot. Said one of you guys is going to get shot.
You know what? I forgot about that scene because the way she said it, it was like she was throwing it out there last minute because they didn't want them to leave.
Yeah.
So like you're right because they didn't want it. So yeah, I wasn't sure about that. But you forgot. I think there's the same part when they were making fun of each other that I think Blue says to Master P, "Your raggedy ass lips." And his lips are all dry and like so. I wonder if they were improvising, like when they were making fun of each other. I bet you, like they were just throwing these like insults back and forth.
I think he even said that, and then he said, "I should." Another joke. I think he said, "I should iron them" or something like that. Like right back to him. No, they were great. Like I don't know if they're friends since the first movie, but their chemistry is really good. And that's what's surprising that they're not on screen as much. But in the same sense, like I said earlier, like. I respect it because he wants to give other people the light. So now Blue has come to grip with his erectile dysfunction. And he goes to like a spa to meet a Dr. Wu. How about when the Asian guy asks him like, what's wrong? And I think he says like, there's something wrong down there. And the guy goes, oh, soft slinky.
Yeah, well, he was trying to avoid it. I think Black was talking. I think Master P was talking about it, and Blue was trying to avoid it. His slinky, and then he calls for Mr. Wu. I was not expecting this at all. and
I think this is one of his last. Well, he filmed last Friday, and then he passed away. But man, talk about a legend, John Witherspoon.
100%. But however, I don't think they used him right because he's such a funny guy, and I don't think he was that funny in this role. His comedic timing is great, and he's always, he's yelling. Like he was a different type of role in this movie, and I thought they could have used him a little better.
Here's one thing I'm going to throw at you, and if it really happened, I want to know if you would have thrown the movie off. What if he was Doctor Wu like he was, but then he had stomach problems?
Well, I told you, if he starts farting, I'm in. So then, I might have liked the movie better.
I put hot sauce on my burrito, baby.
But again, I you know what? I wonder if maybe he had some producing credit for Friday. I mean, there's just way too many similarities between this and Friday. But you don't think they didn't use him the right way? Like,
no, they should have definitely had a fun. But again, for him, it would have been great if he was in it longer. But it was funny to see him come out.
Yeah,
and then he's like, Uncle, it. I love that nobody. It's like because the neighborhood's getting taken over, so all these fancy businesses they're trying to just cater to all the white people that are moving in. And I love that he's like still pretending while looking at his nephew. He's like, "Yo, Unc, it's me, it's Black," and he's like, "Hey, man, don't blow my cover. I'm Dr. Wu." And how about when they go to the yoga studio?
Yeah, and they weren't too nonchalant when they went there. Like the stopping, the staring, and talking out loud for everybody to hear was like ridiculous. They definitely weren't too subtle.
So they do like everything in this. They go to a lot of different places. I'm trying.
But that was in the back room.
That was in the back room of there. Yeah. No, but there's like so many different places they go to. Now I feel like I didn't write it down, how about when they go to the coffee truck with their buddy? They go to visit their buddy, and he's running like a latte truck. I feel like it's later. Is that later in the movie?
Well, you know what? They didn't talk to those guys yet about the building until after the yoga scene.
Oh yeah, that's what.
So like we kind of jumped around a little bit because the next scene after the yoga scene was the $2 million. It was $2 million.
Okay.
So and then I think that's where it kind of changes because that's when they start going. That's when they go back to the restaurant and we learn that they also give out credit. They fix your credit.
You know what? Yeah, we totally skipped around, but that's what's fun about this.
Yeah.
So then we find out, like just in between those scenes, they show Black's son getting arrested, and we kind of know because they're talking about like doing things on the computer. And I love the one stoner white kid. He's like, "Yeah, man, what do you need, man?" And he's like, "I can do a 50." And then she's like, "Do you have change?" And she's like, "You're supposed to give me change." He's like, "Come on, man." And then they get busted. And then we find out they're like changing grades for students.
You just froze. No, you're back now, but you froze while you're talking to us now.
Oh, that's fine. But no,
okay.
So like they were changing students' grades. So that was like the big scam, which again happens in a lot of movies. But it was pretty just, again, I didn't think he was going to come back into the movie. So they were like, "Oh, this is going to be like something." So you're right. Then we get to the part with the guys. But even that scene, honestly, I had no idea what was going on because me too.
You felt like this should have been like a focal point of something. Yes, it happens later on, but you don't realize during the time, like, am I supposed to know these people? Like, am I supposed to know where they're going with this? Like, it didn't make any sense. It really didn't. And then they jump right into the $2 million of trying to buy the place. It's like, all right, I forgot about those kids already.
Yeah, like you said before, the credit repair at the burger place was unbelievable. I love when he's trying to explain it to. Was it just the girl in the yellow dress that came? No, it was a different girl.
No, the yellow dress at the end. So there was a different it started with Blue. It was Master P explaining it, and then Blue shot in later on.
Yeah. But I forgot who he was talking to. Just some random girl that came in because he was like, "What we do, my son's really smart, and he told me that all we do is take credit from dead people." Then I used it, and she's like, "Yeah, that's not right. Again, that's not a real thing. You can't just take credit."
I was gonna say, like, how does that work? How does that work?
700 credit score. I'm gonna take that now. So you go to like the wake, and they're like, "Oh, do you know the family?" "No, I'm just here to take their credit score." It made no sense, but it was kind of like it was funny. But I love the girl fixing the credit because she was kind of funny too. Because when the girl in the yellow dress came in, that's what was kind of weird. Because like your girl in the yellow dress comes in, and Master P is like, "Damn, like I want to help." Yeah. Oh no, Blue wanted to help her out. That's what it was.
Well, Blue, and then wasn't it Master P also, or because the girl didn't want? She goes, "I'm getting paid for this. You're not taking my commission."
Oh
or something
yeah.
like that.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah. But you also
and then when we find out he has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what the freak's going on? Because he was just trying to hit on this girl like 2 seconds ago, and then we find out later. But dude, the credit thing was like unbelievable. And then they were saying credit things that I never even heard of. She said to the girl in the yellow dress, like, "Oh, you already did this 4 times for a year." I'm like, what the hell? What? I don't even know if that's a thing.
Yeah. No,
So that was kind of confusing. I did laugh at the Spanish cook.
Well, I was gonna say. I think he was Mexican, and the only reason I say that is because every time he was talking, they played Mexican music in the background.
Oh yeah. But I like that bit in the subtitles. That was pretty funny.
That reminded me of European Vacation.
Yeah.
When he goes to the French restaurant and he goes, "I'll give you dishwater. You won't know the difference."
Yeah. And then that whack job woman comes in.
Well, one line I think it's before that woman comes in. I mean, maybe it's the girl with the yellow. When I think it might have been Blue, or someone said, "She's so fine, she make a guy find a job."
Yes, and then another line. He said, "I'll shoot my daddy if you take just one out."
You know what?
Probably the greatest line ever.
And that's where the one should have came out.
Damn it. But yeah, like just around that time, that's when the crazy woman came up, ordered the food, and then came back 2 seconds later and said, "Is my food ready?" And he's like, "I told you 20, 25 minutes." And then she's like, another person. She was like, fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So then that guy comes in, and he's like pissed off because his credit's not perfect. And then the B's were right because he gets shot.
And remember how he describes who shot him? He goes, he goes, "Some easy E looking motherfucker."
Yes. That's amazing. And that's what happened. And who saved the day, really? The girl in the yellow dress.
Yeah.
She walked past, and that guy was like, "Damn."
Yeah.
And then Fat Boy dove, knocked him over, and then the gun just shot him in the shoulder. But so we find out, again, we talked about this all earlier, but health inspector shuts him down. So then this is like when they're in line for the cell phone.
So yes, so this is where the movie starts. Like, this is where the plot starts, and so you have to be halfway in the movie now, where now we're getting
I think so.
Because the rest of the movie has to do with this. You know, like, so yes, they go online because the new phone comes out, and they know who. Oh no, they go with Big Shawn because Big Shawn gets them in.
Yes.
Because there's a huge line, and they walk right in with Big Shawn.
That boy was like, "Hey, yo, Big Shawn, what's up?" And he's like, and Spyda is like with him, and he's acting all cocky to get in. But dude, when that girl walks up to, again, a smoking hot girl walks up, and Big Sean's flirting with these girls, and she's like, "I want the new phone," and he's like, "Well, what will you do for me?" I'm like, and then we can skip a little forward to the next time they're together. So when the cops pull up, and Big Shawn is in the car, and he looks like they just had sex.
Yeah.
And he's 10 years old.
You know, every time you mention his name, I'm looking at his picture behind you. It's ridiculous.
It was so funny. That was a really funny thing.
All right. So this is where the movie starts. This is about the stealing of the cell phone, but this is where they also walk into the music video, right? This is like, or they're at a club, or.
Well, the music video is earlier when we met Pablo, because Pablo was pissed that his nephew was using his car in the music video. But dude, this one, Spyda knows about the cell phones that are upstairs. And again, in this movie, his physical comedy is really funny because when he gets up he like slinks up the stairs, and then he starts like dancing in that room. And again, what did you think the movie was going to be? At this point, stealing cell phones. What is this movie about? Not stealing cell phones.
And listen, him dancing up there, the way he was acting, you can't see Chris Tucker doing it.
Oh, I see that. I see that totally.
You know, it's like it really is like amazing. You know, again, you know, if you're gonna follow someone, I mean, that's the guy to do it. And listen, he does a great job. I mean, like, I think if Chris Tucker, you know, wasn't in like the same kind of character, I think you'd be like, Spyda could be the new Chris Tucker. Like, if you never heard of Chris Tucker, you know? Well, I was laughing at the scene when they were stealing the boxes. They looked empty. They were like throwing the boxes around so lightly.
Oh, dude, when the Lyft driver came, which again, another funny white guy stereotype.
That was a funny scene. The Mini Cooper or the small car they had.
Yeah. But the one, he throws the box and you know there's nothing in it. It's like floating.
Yeah.
Hits the hood of the car like nothing. But I love the fact that he goes, Fat Boy looks at Spyda and he goes, man, you got a ride share? He's like, man, what's peak hours? And the one white girl's in the car and she's like waving, and they're stuffing the boxes in the car. Spyda's hanging out of the car while he's driving. Now that scene was really funny. I like.
Well, the guy reminded me of Andy Richter. You look like an Andy Richter.
and I love that Spyda said to him, he was like, man, you better focus. Oh, because he was like, well, I have to drop off Michelle first, and he's like, you're gonna drop us off first, and you look so weird with the wheel, the steering wheel cover. It was like a fuzzy steering wheel cover. So ridiculous, dude. That whole scene was so freaking.
No, that was a funny scene. That was good. That was a good scene.
So how about when Blue's in the hospital?
Oh, all right. So he gets excited for the first time at the hospital. Do you remember why?
He was like donkey porn.
It was a donkey. It was a white woman, a donkey, and a cab.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know in what order, like he watched that or what was involved, but that's what did it. And that you had that nurse that wanted.
She's in a bunch of stuff, but she's Borat's girlfriend in Borat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Towards the end of the movie, he was the prostitute that she was the prostitute that Borat took to the really sophisticated like Southern party.
Right.
But yeah, and then I love that she pisses him off. She's pissed off. Asks the nurse to get paralysis cream.
And the other nurse was hot.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
They definitely had fun picking the girls. So how about, again, I know it's a repeat of the joke. Pinky, I know he's the same exact guy. But dude, the line.
I love this scene.
Oh, yeah? Good. When he's like jackpot, you ever see the sevens light up on the board at the casino? Ding dong, that's me. I love that.
No, again, there were definitely funny parts. I mean, I'll give you that. And even I did like the next part also, the police lineup.
Oh my god, dude!
When they're all there and you have Big Shawn and like the smallest person right there.
Yeah, and the one guy. What did I write? Oh, dude! How about in prison after the lineup? How about the one guy having sex with a basketball and the other guy's talking to himself? Who got arrested?
No, Big Shawn got arrested.
Oh, okay. That's who we saw going into the prison cell? Okay.
I think so. Right? No one else was in jail? Oh, no. With the boy, with Spyda and him? No.
No.
Oh, then there's Big Shawn.
Must have been him, yeah.
Because
no, we saw the cop. We followed the cop with Big Shawn. Like the cop was there helping him point out the lineup.
Right.
Now, did we get past the scene? Again, a girl we never saw again in the movie. The crazy girl that was, again, another hot girl that wanted to get pulled over by the main cop. And she's like, I have drugs. I need you to search me. I'm like, and he's like.
That was in the beginning of the movie. Was it like.
I don't know. I keep forgetting when he got introduced because I feel like at one point in the movie, I'm like, wait, this is a new character.
No, because I wrote that down earlier. Like Dana was really horny or something like that. I think it's Dana.
Oh, yeah.
And that because she does come back, but I think that was earlier in the movie. That was like one of the early scenes with Romeo, I thought. And you know what? He seemed like a stand-up guy because he wanted no part of it unless they had history, which we don't know about, because it could have been like some kind of history they had.
It could have been a deleted scene.
And by the way, there was nudity in this movie. Don't you see Romeo's butt?
Yeah, you did. Oh my god, dude.
So this is this part to me was, if I'm gonna find like my favorite part, is when Big Sean's in jail, they're questioning him, they're roughing him up.
Oh, dude, when they're beating him up, dude, that's. Oh yeah, no, that's the best part because he goes to like his captain. He's like, I should be in there. I'm the best interrogator.
Yeah.
He's like, so and so's the best. And like within seconds, that guy just started. He's asking like simple questions, and Big Sean's responses were like just like jargon and just shit talking. And the guy just loses it and starts punching him, dude. That was a really funny scene.
Yeah, that was. I said that's probably the funniest scene, I think.
And then this is where Pablo, we find out that it's not just phones that were stolen. He's pissed off his nephew because the $100,000 of Molly. They want to figure out who stole it. And so again, this is like I was talking about. This is the part of the movie. There's a lot of like quick, random scenes. Like there was a guy that punched a guy in the face and stole his cookie. And then a guy wakes up and shoots a guy in the ass.
Well, the guy that stole the cookie was Debo on a scooter. That's Debo. No, the Debo on a scooter.
Yeah.
So because that guy was massive.
Yeah, I know.
So, but that's that. So when I saw that, when him coming over there, I'm like, oh my goodness. But yeah, he comes on a scooter, and he steals the cookie because Fat Boy wanted a bite of it later.
Yes. It's funny. So this knockoff Debo was on a scooter. Debo was on a bike.
Yeah.
Did this scooter squeak?
It did not squeak.
See, that would have really pissed you off. That might have sent you over the edge. That and John Witherspoon, like having stomach issues.
Well, they also do a joke from I think what's the movie with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, Rush Hour. They do "Chew Is You." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was from like Rush Hour 3. They did a whole like again, it was funny, but again, they're stealing it from someone else.
Yeah.
So right after the cookie scene was the barbershop.
Oh my gosh. I know I went black.
Okay.
I'll fix it later.
All right. Yeah, the barbershop was again, what was the point of that?
Yeah. Again, there's like a lot of parts that happen in this movie that are just so quick and like so thrown in that really just.
It was like, again, it was funny. Like it was, filler because, the one guy got stuck with the flamboyant guy, but then the hot girl was giving the other guy a haircut and like, but it was like almost like filler.
Yeah. How about when the guy was offering the guy that had the hot girl money? They were like trying to like, that was actually.
Well, he said, I would love to take her to church. Is this the same laptop or like what's going on?
The program timed out.
Oh.
But yeah, so yeah, that was like so random, like with the barbershop, like that whole scene. But again, they just probably had time to fill. And again, he wanted to have like all these different characters that he knew in the movie. But now, was there anybody in that scene that had to do with the?
There was no. I think.
Oh, Spyda showed up to sell the cell phone.
Spyda. I was gonna say it was either Blue or Spyda. One of them walked in there because then they saw the girl and they were trying to get her to give their haircut. I think was it Spyda? No, was it Blue or Spyda?
No, well, Spyda gave the cell phone to the gay Spanish barber.
Oh, and then he saw the girl there. Then maybe that's what it was.
So even at this point, they think they just have cell phones.
Yeah.
I don't think they figure out the Molly just yet.
No. Yeah.
But when they do find out the Molly, that's when they think about like, oh, how we're gonna sell it? We're gonna go on Instagram. They use the word Instagram a lot in this movie, but they want it to be able to like go to parties and find people.
Yep.
How about so they meet the two girls that he's friends with on Instagram at like the Spanish bar, and they give the Molly, and I feel like the girls make out, right? Oh
yes,
yeah,
they do.
Two girls
They do.
kiss.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we're going to give you the Molly for free. And Spyda's the businessman.
Yeah.
He actually wants them to pay like full price. But Fat Boy was like, no, we'll give you a discount. And then she's like, can I tell my friend that we're going to meet? And dude, it was so random. Oh, again, I knew he was in this movie because we talked to him. But seeing Tiny Lister come out, why the hell did they not let him full bore smack? He was like.
Yeah, I know.
It was slow.
He definitely looked older. He looked old, and I know, but I think I don't know. I mean, he's still an intimidating guy.
Oh, I know.
Mean, he was massive. And I wish he had a bigger role. I think he was funny. I mean, instead of having a guy, I guess if he had a bigger role, it's more Friday. Talk. But Yeah, he like tapped him. Like it wasn't like a hard slap at all.
I know. It was like just so weird that he just did like
Yeah.
little thing. But then right now they lost all the Molly. All
But then
the Molly's gone.
doesn't Spyda get all tough after they leave?
He does, yeah.
I mean, but he was crying also, weren't they? He was like hugging. He was hugging. I almost called him Doughboy, but it was Fat Boy, right?
No, but yeah. So like they're screwed. They lost all that money, and then I think pretty soon this is when like Pablo finds out and he goes to the burger joint to be able to like talk to them. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's like pretty much like the next thing. So the only way they can actually make money now is use those cell phones and actually sell them. So this is like when they go into the barber shop. I love that the guy that comes in to sit, I wrote this down, to sit with like really hot chicks. His name is Shawnathan.
Shawnathan? Like in the movie? His name is Shawnathan? Oh,
yeah, because her appointment's name is she's like Shawnathan, and the guy sits down, he's like super happy. She's so then Tangerine, she's back in the movie, and she's Blue's ex, so she's trying to get money from Blue. And it's really funny when she's mentioning all the ways that he could pay her. And one of the references was kind of funny because it was a Rush card. And that was Russell Simmons when he used to have like that debit card like for a year.
What was it? Who was with him that was like listening to what she was saying, but like saying like how it doesn't make sense? Like she was naming all these kids and like thing.
Yeah.
What was it? Master P that was with him? And he was like,
I think so. I think Master P.
He's like adding it up, or he's like trying to. He's like she's throwing things in there. Like yeah.
So yeah, like I just mentioned, and that's when Pablo and his gang bust in on Black Spyda and Fat Boy at the burger joint. And then he says, now we find out, we heard him earlier say it was $100,000 worth. And then he's like, you better pay me $130 by the end of the week. And then I wrote, wow, his gang rocks a lot of fedoras. Everybody in the gang had a fedora.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's why, when we said that before, them, like, they weren't like likable characters. They were just like, they were lame. Like, I didn't like, he tried to act too drug lordish, like, like the way he was walking around. And he just seemed like a local, high school seller,
You know who would have sent this movie over the edge? Danny Trejo.
Oh, see, now think about that. Imagine that. Imagine he was the one, like he was Pablo. That would have been awesome. And that adds a little bit more flavor.
Danny Trejo, and somehow him and Tiny Lister go out.
Oh, forget it. You know what?
Here's the thing in the movie that really really seriously grind my gears, because they could have come out with something that was actually plausible. But the fact that his son comes up with the idea with the stoner guy and that Asian chick, the idea for using light bulbs as Wi-Fi. Think about that.
The fact that happened so early in the movie and you forgot about it, and now
I forgot he was back in the movie.
Yeah, right. And then again, that concept is just like it's just the whole like that's how you're gonna end it. Like that's solving a problem. Like that's solving the movie problem.
Yeah, and the fact that the chip when he showed like his dad the chip, it was like, where do you put that in his cell phone?
Yeah.
Cell phones now are so small, and it was like this huge chip. Like, what do you do to it?
Yeah.
And how does a freaking light do Wi-Fi? That really, I didn't like that at all.
Oh, that you didn't like?
That's the only thing I didn't like. So here, another great Spyda line. I think this is like they're at a bar after this, and he looks at the Spanish girl. He goes, "I will knock you out all the way, Michael Jackson." She had like a really tight hairline, and she was like busting out and dancing with a girl. But oh my god, dude! Yeah, he had some. He did. I know. I love that guy. I talked about him a lot. He's really funny in this movie. So then, like, again, this movie ends pretty quick because after he comes up with that idea, like, we're at probably like an hour 20. Like, we're, like, way in the thick of it. And then, so some girl's in interrogation that knows Black. And she, like, narcs him out. And then we find out Miller, the cop, he is Black's nephew because he goes over to the house.
When this starts happening, it like you said, it happens so quick. It's like the movie takes a complete turn. Like I thought they're gonna build up to this, and it just happens. And then you have the action. You have to have the action scene. It's
But before that, the fact that he runs and he's like, because Pablo was like, nobody can come. If anybody comes, So then Miller sneaks back. He puts the GPS under the car. And then later on in the movie, Master P's like, I knew you put it under the car. I'm like, I knew you'd come here. I'm like, oh, my, come on, dude. But what was crazy about this movie was I really didn't expect anybody to die. Did you expect any action kind of scene at the end?
Listen, I didn't expect a child to come out of a carriage with a shotgun. Okay, I didn't expect Jonathan Witherspoon to come out as a Chinese masseuse. So really, I wasn't even thinking if anyone's going to die or not.
Yeah. So then Black meets Pablo, and Miller with the GPS follows him. He gives him the money. And when the cops show up, then that's like when all the sound effects were so bad on the guns. Oh. The movement of the guns were so bad. I'm trying to compare what other movie that we did. Oh, Samurai Cop. Pretty bad sound effects.
Hey, listen, if you're comparing this to Samurai Cop, I mean, that just tells you.
The special effects part.
Well, I wrote that my last two notes are basically. No, actually, it's fighting. The lamest fighting I've ever seen.
It was terrible.
It's horrible.
They could have had like one little like Miller had a one-on-one with not Pablo, a different guy.
No, right.
And it was just like, I don't know. And then and the guy had diamond shoes.
Listen, the fighting in Cannonball Run 1 and 2 were 10 times better than this.
I know we didn't even talk about this because we kind of skipped over it. You did mention we saw Miller's ass, but him and his partner Diaz have this like chemistry throughout the whole movie. They kind of hate each other. Like they go to the one crime scene and he doesn't want to be partners with her. And then she walks in on him naked. Why is she in the men's locker room?
Well, not only that, let me ask you. So you walk into the women's locker room for whatever reason, like she walks in the guys, and you see a woman like you're a cop like yourself, and you see that she's naked. She sees you. Are you just going to stand there and keep looking? Like at a certain point, and yes, I mean, as much as you might want to keep looking, wouldn't you just turn around? Like, oh, I'm sorry, like she was, and then he's just standing there, they're having a normal conversation, like nothing's wrong.
Yeah,
like it's completely normal.
And then at the end of the movie is basically Miller fighting. Whatever happened to Pablo? Did he just get arrested? I don't remember what happened to him in that whole fight scene. All I have written down is Miller fights a girl. Remember, he's like fighting that girl. He's like dodging her.
Yeah.
He won't punch her, and then Diaz comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Saves the day. Oh no, Master P beats the crap out of Pablo. He beats the shit out of him, and then they stop him because he's like pummeling him.
Yeah. Right.
And then Miller and Diaz start making out with dead bodies, like 10 feet away. There's a dead body, and they're just like, and it's a cop, and they're just like making out. Like, who cares? And the end of the movie is cool because they are talking about making other ones. And Fat Boy grabs the bag, causes the Spyda, and they leave. That's it. That's how I got the hookup too.
Are they really making another one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Tiny, my buddy Tiny said they were already in the works.
I'm glad we got one out of the way.
Well, we did. So what did you honestly like going into a movie again? We cover a lot of different movies, different genres, but I think I know you're shaking your head, but there was some parts that you'll remember. You'll never forget this kid.
Yeah, listen, you know what? There's in every movie you could find some kind of bright light. You could try to find some kind of bright light. Yes, this kid is funny, and maybe there's more of him. It could have been a better movie.
He disappeared too.
He did, right, and I feel like the parts that should have been more is what really ruined the movie because they didn't have enough of that. I think one, they have way too many characters and too many side storylines to put it all together. And like I said, if they were trying to make like a sketch spoof movie, fine, but they weren't. And I think that's the problem. It just like I honestly did not know what was going on until they stole the cell phones. The first time, and that has to be at least 45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
This movie's almost 2 hours long.
I know.
So it's way too long, and it's scary to think that there's probably more scenes that are left on the floor. That this could have been a 2.5 hour movie.
It could have been. There was like 10 minutes of like deleted scenes. So here's the only thing for me personally. It was fun. I had fun watching the movie. There were some funny lines that I'll remember. I think the same thing. It's like in the same sense, you have to give credit, and then kind of in the same sense, like, why'd you do it? Like, Master P wanted to help out a lot of people, give the little bit parts, which I guess that's cool that he did that. But as a viewer, I hope the next movie, if they do another one, like you said, dude, the kid with the shotgun, have him back, like, out of prison, and like have like all the main characters that we did enjoy, like that we talked about, and they had good parts. Just have them, and like get rid of the other random. Like I'm telling you, there was one part, I forgot where they were at, like at a bar, and two guys start talking back and forth. They say like two lines each, and then they pan over, and it had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And of course, Jackpot. You got to bring Jackpot.
Well, you saw the first one, right?
Yeah.
Which one was better?
I don't remember. The first one I saw 20 years ago, but I remember the first one. I loved it because Tiny Lister was a big part of the movie. I remember him having like.
So he plays the same role in this one he does in the other one.
Yeah, he's like more of a main bad guy.
Okay.
And the first one is more Master P. It's more black and blue, selling those illegal cell phones.
All right, so it's more like a buddy kind of movie where this one is
a comedy, and they're trying to avoid Tiny Lister. Yeah.
All right, so I mean, and that's obviously he's trying to milk. You know, it's like anything else. It's probably like doing Bad Boys 15. How when was the last Bad Boys made? Before the last year, was it like 15?
Bad Boys? They did the new one's 3.
The new one came out this year or last year.
3?
Yeah.
Oh, so the Bad Boys 2 probably came out like late 90s, early.
Right. Okay, so they probably figured, all right, you know what? Everybody's excited to see them back on the screen together. So, and that's Bad Boys. So Master P's like, all right, let's bring back the same cast. 20 years later, but was really I Got the Hookup. Did it really do well in the theater? Like I never heard of it. Right. So like I think if you're gonna try to get people back to a movie that you think was popular 20 years ago, make sure it was a well received movie.
Yeah, but it's great. It's a good problem to have. I'm sure he had some backers, but he has enough money from his reporting career that he could just it's basically. And again, I'm sure this was like a quick 14-day shoot, trying to get it done at the cheapest possible rate. But
has Romeo been in a bunch of movies or no?
I feel like he was on a show on VH1.
He might. So maybe it's a way to jumpstart his career.
He had a pretty good career when he was a little Romeo.
Yeah,
he had a lot of money.
No, and I think, like I said, I think honestly, he might have been one of the better actors in the movie. So I think he has potential, maybe to maybe springboard from here. Maybe
he can take over for Ludacris in like Fast 12.
Maybe.
You never know. So isn't it mind blowing that this was our 98th episode?
That's nuts.
So this is where we're going to reveal what 100 is, and we went with probably one of the best trilogies that are standalone trilogies of all time. The film that we're going to do, we'll see. We'll talk about it. But so it's Back to the Future Part 3. That's our next movie. And I was lucky enough, man, it was so cool that Jamie was able to connect with Jeffrey Weissman. He had such a tall order in this movie, having to take over for George McFly, for Crispin Glover, because there's a little bit of financial. He tells a story, and it's more crazy than I could have imagined. And he was also in the Twilight Zone, the movie, Pale Rider. He has some cool stories about working with Clint Eastwood. And a lot more. He did a lot of cool, backlot things on Universal, and that's how he got the role of George McFly. So don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast, follow us on all social media at Sequels Only, and don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.